Welcome back to episode 9 of the Business Builders Podcast, where it's my pleasure to welcome Sam Calderone, one of my good friends and real estate extraordinaire from Mobile, Alabama. Thanks for driving over the bay to come see me.
Yeah, I love it over here.
Yeah? That's not what you said earlier. You said the traffic was
Well, I love it over here when there's no traffic.
Okay. A little bit of holiday weekend.
Yeah.
Traffic coming in. So thanks for coming and joining us. Really appreciate it. We're just going to jump right in, just ask some questions. The whole idea is that we're able to maybe inspire or help some young entrepreneurs, some young salespeople that are either trying to build their business or maybe they're stuck, or they can just find any kind of value that they can. Mm-hmm. So why real estate?
Man, my family owns a farm in Leroy, and when I was younger, my uncle kind of started acquiring property. And for the longest time, I thought, well, I wanted to sell land. That's what I wanted to do. My mom would take us to open houses and stuff like that growing up. She had no money to buy houses, but she loved real estate. And I don't know, I kind of liked it. She was always watching these home makeover shows. And then I had a friend that I grew up with that got in the business. And I remember one day in the newspaper, it said, so-and-so was a multi-million-dollar producer. Well, I thought it meant that he made multi-million-dollars. I was like, hey, if he can do it, I know I can do it.
Right.
No, but anyways, I don't know. I was fresh out of college. I was looking for a career. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I decided to get my real estate license, and luckily it kind of took off.
So you got into real estate right after college?
Yeah, right after college.
Been in it ever since?
Yeah. And matter of fact, I had not even finished college at that point. I was, I don't even know how many hours I had at that point when I quit going, but I came home thinking I'd go to South Alabama, and I never got that far. I got a real estate license and kind of went from there.
That's very rare to go into real estate right out of college and still be
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? A couple decades?
Man, 19 years.
19 years. Yeah.
19
It's very,
years.
very rare. So did you ever feel like quitting?
Man, I did. Yeah. So, the first 2 years was after Katrina and Ivan, and, you could sell a house, in your sleep. I mean, everybody was coming here, relocating to our area, and it was easy. And then after that, things started to tank, and it got slow. The oil spill kind of happened, and I got offered a job by an ad company, and they wanted me to have a degree. And I had to go back and finish my degree, and I did. I went back and got it during the slow years. Luckily, as I was finishing my degree in business, my real estate business was on the incline.
So you never had to do anything else?
Never had to go take that job. And I'm thankful that, it worked out that way.
Right. Yeah. So what's your favorite thing about real estate sales?
People. I'm a people person, and I used to think that there was a pro and a con to that. A pro being that, you met good people and you made friends, and the con sometimes was that people found it easy to open up to you about certain situations that you might not always want to listen to.
None of your business, right?
Hey, but you know what? I kind of feel like that's a compliment. People 100%. Like you enough to trust you to tell you certain things and personal things. And
right.
In business, it really is well, because if you're a people person, you want to please them. You're willing to do whatever it takes. And you know what? It's easy to take care and make somebody happy when you do the right thing, and you're always trying to make them happy.
What's your least favorite thing about real estate sales?
Least favorite thing about real estate sales is I don't know how to turn it off. It is the people. Again, I want to make you happy. If you text me at 10 o'clock at night, I have some agents, I turn my phone off at 7 o'clock. Mm-hmm. You know what? I got in this job knowing that I didn't have set schedule, that if a client hired me to sell their home, I needed to be on call and answer their phone call. There's another agent that's going to. Might as well be me.
Right.
So knowing when to turn it off is very difficult for me.
So have you gotten any better at that? I mean,
Well, I've got Lauren, my sister now, and I get to enjoy my kids and different things like that, because I have her to kind of help pick up the pieces when I'm busy with other things. But no, before her, it was just 60, 70 hour a week. It was just never turning it off.
You do a lot of transactions. I think you and I are like in that way. A lot of files you do. So how do you manage so many files or so many transactions?
Well, dot loop was probably the game changer. Dot loop and digital signatures, when that became a thing. I don't even know how long ago that would have been, but
it was before I was in the business.
It was definitely before you guys. So I remember one year where an agent had sold 30 houses. I remember thinking, how in the world would they find time to sell 30 houses? You're going back and forth on addendums, and the fax machines obviously were used, but a lot of times you were meeting with the buyer and seller, just going back and forth from house to house.
Right.
And you think about going and picking up, and this was even before digital lock boxes too, where sometimes we had combo locks, sometimes we had to go pick up keys from offices. So there was a lot more involved. Well, it wasn't soon after that I sold 127 houses one year. And it still blows my mind because that was before I had.
What year was that?
That would have been 2012 and 13. I went in the 120s.
But you've sold more than 100 houses many times, right?
Many times I have. 127, I think, was the most I ever had. But, that's due to DocuSign, .loop.
But it's more than that, though. I mean, I can see, I wasn't there during that change and how that, there's not a lot of people today selling over 100 houses, and you're still doing it, and .loop's been here a long time.
Yeah.
So what else is it?
Technology's made it a whole lot easier, too, though.
Okay. Why aren't more people doing it then?
Well,
just challenging.
Honestly, there's a lot more agents now too.
Okay.
So technology made it easier for people to get in the business.
Okay.
Now we're having to spread that business, and there is more business. There's more houses, more people buying. But you think about then, even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, there were a lot less houses sold. There's a lot less houses built. You think about how
just
fast
inventory,
like in general. But you think about all the new agents that are involved. I mean, technology had to kind of keep up with that, or maybe that brought them in. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how many people sell more than 100 houses a year in Mobile and Baldwin County, but I'd say it's count on one hand, maybe.
Ain't many.
I mean,
no.
Is there any more in Mobile to do?
Yeah, I would say there's several. I wouldn't be able to give you an answer, but I would say it's for sure a handful. Yeah.
Okay. How has the industry changed since you got in? I know we talked about technology. But what else?
Overall, social media, I think, was probably the biggest change. When you think about a group of people where you could get on a platform and discuss one topic, multiple topics, but my one topic's real estate. So you think about what social media has done just as far as a standpoint of reaching a crowd of people. Before then, it was very difficult for me. If I wanted to go and kind of get the word out, it was open houses, it was sending flyers, meeting people at social events. Networking, yeah. And that was difficult as a kid in his 20s. I mean, I wasn't part of any networking groups or anything like that. Different baseball party. I didn't have kids at parks and stuff like that involved where I could meet other parents that were buying houses. I didn't talk to a lot of people other than my social network of a small group of friends.
Right.
But man, when you had social media come along and all of a sudden now I got this network, I can go make one post and all these people can see it and respond to it and share it. And then, there is obviously a negative, how Facebook shows you, this was your post 12 years ago. And I read what I wrote. I'm thinking, wow, what was I thinking? Like, what?
You can see your growth, though, for sure.
100%.
You like see some of the first videos we made, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
But it was really bad.
Well, obviously we all feel that way. So it wasn't like it was just me or you or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I've got some posts out there that I regret.
Yeah.
For sure. So you weren't before internet. You're not that old.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we had email. We had internet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't really, your business right now isn't technology driven.
No, I think honestly, and sometimes I can't I call myself a unicorn. I don't have to go spend a lot of money. And we did. I try to copy you with leads and some stuff that you've done, and you're all over. You're well versatile when it comes to what you do in your business. Me, I'm just about 100% referral, and I'm very organic in that way where most of the business I get is from people that either knew me or has done business with me and has referred their friends and family. So I'm thankful there. But I kind of feel like in those early years when I was pushing social media before any of the other agents were, before we had a big group of agents come in that were younger, I was one of the first ones to do it. And that probably helped me grow a book of business.
You were one of the first people to do the social media.
That really kind of took off doing it, yeah.
I got in 2016, and I think some people were doing it, but it was still fairly, not as many. So I think I was in that same boat too. I got pretty active early on social media and allowed our business to go share our successes and things.
Yep.
So talking to a new agent, because a new agent today is much different than what you experienced 20 years ago. What would you tell them in regards to trying to grow their business?
That's very difficult. I mean, I feel like right now it's even tougher than it was when we got in because there's a lot more agents. So you're competing with a lot more people. You might even say there's probably more business to be had, I guess, depending on what the market's doing. Maybe it's a little soft right now, but in general, I think that you have to know as many people and talk to as many people as you can. I think it's a numbers game, and I think the more people you meet, that you're around. I don't think the social media stuff is quite as easy as it used to be because we're all doing it, and it all looks the same.
It's very crowded.
It's very crowded. I think video's great. I absolutely hate it, even though we're doing it.
Yeah.
This is one reason why I wanted to come talk to you here. You know, I know I need to do these things, you know.
Right. Well, you got a lot to share too.
And I got things I like to talk about, and I love talking about real estate, but I think agents probably just have to find their niche, whether it's video, whether it's finding a way to stand out on social media, whether it's pushing their church group. There's 1,000 different ways. And there's a couple agents that have done really, really good in Mobile doing things that I would have never done. And one of them being video. Few of them do video, and they've done very, very great things with it.
Right.
It's just something I'm not saying I don't have to do it, because obviously we could all definitely grow, but it's something that I just luckily haven't needed to do just yet.
It's interesting, the video. I mean, we do a lot of it, as you see, but I feel like it's everything kind of does full circle, and it's almost now like there's so much video that when you just do a simple post of value with just text, it almost does just as good.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how it just kind of, it's like when they go this way, you know, you go this way. But so why do you think agents fail?
You know, I think we're in a world too where you start to watch, you know, reels and TikToks and all these different things on easy opportunities to make money, easy business to get into, work from home. Everybody wants to work from, remotely from home. I feel like real estate in general is looked at like it's easy and that it can be done remotely from their home in the comfort of, their own place.
With all this freedom.
Right. And I think that unfortunately it couldn't be further from the truth. You think about having to get up every single day and go find a buyer or a seller, and that's not even the start of it. I mean, there's much more than that, but it's just not that easy. And I wish it was. And a lot of them see, hey, I can work from home. I got small children. I can make this work.
Right.
It's just not that easy.
It's something I'm pretty passionate about, is that the fallacy of that, like the people getting into the business under a false pretense of what the job is.
Yeah.
And then I guess everybody's capable of success if they do the things right, but they get in on the wrong idea, and then they're doomed, you know, because then they find out it's something different. So it's definitely a big problem, I think. So what's the solution for that? Like what?
I think you got to be all in. I think that if you're going to do something, why wouldn't you try to do it, head on as best you can? If you got kids and you got a family, it's like anything else. I think you got to figure out the right business model of, all right, I'm going to focus this much time on my business, and I need my kids to be watched, this period of time, and I can work weekends, whatever it may be, but you got to have some kind of game plan of what you're going to do.
So there's a lot of part-time agents in our industry.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
It's tough. I mean, it really is. And it works for some people. And some part-time people are already in the business. Maybe they're an admin at their company, and maybe their company says, hey, we'll let you sell on the weekend or whatever. You can hold open houses. I think that's great. It's very difficult from a standpoint like me and you. We're working with a client, and everything's done by time frames, contract, everything. Sometimes we meet those time frames. A lot of times we don't, depending on what the exact situation is. But when you're negotiating and you're working a deal with another part-time agent, and they're not responding to their client, and their client can't respond to the offers,
it's a disservice to the whole thing. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
We believe in a transition period.
Sure.
Like everybody's got to get a start.
Yeah.
But there comes like a jumping off point,
Yeah.
What have you seen it with other agents or in your business? Like, when do you know, okay, I got to jump or cut bait,
Yeah. I think last year and this year is probably, you're seeing it a lot. I think that over the last couple of years, business was pretty easy. Just like when I said I got in, business was easy after Katrina and Ivan. I think we saw that in the last couple of years. Agents were getting in. They're like, wow, this is easy. Maybe they did some of this stuff.
Just taking orders, kind of.
That's exactly right. Maybe they did some of this stuff from the comfort of their home. Now the market's stalled out, stale a little bit.
It's actually normal.
It's normal.
That was
That's
abnormal.
exactly right.
This is normal.
It's changed to what we've seen on average.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh, wow, I do got to get up every day, and I got to leave the house. And my phone's not ringing. Now I got to drum up business. I got to farm. What do I do? I don't know what to do now. Wait, my fees are adding up. Because I haven't had a sale in 60, 90 days.
This is hard.
It gets difficult. So if you didn't save any of that money, if you weren't just like a regular business, if you weren't prepared financially to push through the slower times, it takes money to make money too. You can't just jump in this business and say, hey, I'm going to have a big successful career. I'm going to make all this money. I mean, you got to market, you got to advertise, buy signs, lot boxes, photographers, video costs money. I mean, everything is expensive.
Yeah, you take a listing, you get your checkbook out,
100%. Yep.
So obviously we have a team Do you have a team right now?
Me and my sister
You
are
and
a
your
team.
sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of teams?
I pro and con. It depends on personality. I'm the guy that I like to do things a certain way. I want the ball. I want to work the deal, and that's how I feel about it.
Yep.
I've struggled in the past. Honestly, I got lucky because the few that I've had in the past were all such great agents that they moved along to do things on their own, and I totally get it. Like at some point, you outgrow, and yeah. But it comes a situation for me where it was difficult because I didn't want to hand off business. I want to be involved. I wanted to do everything.
Right.
It works perfect with me and my sister because, one, she's my sister, and she doesn't do anything without running it through me to make sure this is exactly how I'd want it done. And we've done so many deals now that whatever she does, it's done the exact way that I trained her to do it.
Right.
So it's perfect. We have a system in place that works absolutely perfect. And I get the review every time I talk to these clients when they say, "Hey, we love your sister so much, we might just start working with her instead."
Yeah. I usually make that joke about whenever I go on a listing appointment and they haven't met Heather yet.
Yeah.
Get ready to kick me to the curb when you meet her. But that's a blessing to be surrounded by strong people.
100%. Yep.
What parallels do you think you can take from real estate sales into maybe some other careers that might be helpful to someone that's watching?
I mean, I feel like everything that we do is based on relationships. I mean, even with me and you, so many times I've sent you referrals and you sent me referrals. We've got one working right now. Yep. It's nice to know people in certain situations, but nonetheless, depending on what you're selling, for the most part, if it's sales, being someone that can navigate relationships, and they're not always perfect situations. Sometimes we manage people's emotions in these relationships, but I think if you learn how to deal with people, different situations and different emotions, I think that you can just about do anything.
So communicate and handle those. I've told the story about how you and I kind of met a couple of times because I think what you did that day was smart. I don't know if you even remember, but we were at a REMAX event. Maybe we had talked a little bit before, but I didn't really know you. And we were sitting there, and I don't know, I was in the business a couple of years, and I was starting to gain momentum. Yeah. And I think you saw me on the list or whatever, and not there's anything special about me. I'm just saying it created a relationship, and you came and sat by me. Yeah. You're like, my name's Sam Calderone. I'm in Mobile. Let's get to know each other, which was, has been mutually beneficial. Yeah. So you took that risk, I guess. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in a networking event, if you could be intentional about that, it's been very fruitful. So
many times I've gone to these real estate functions that we have locally, different things, whether it's a lender putting something on or title company, and these agents will come to it and they'll go sit down by themselves or with their group of friends or agents or whatever. And obviously I'm working the room. I'm going around mainly because I am a people person. I want to talk to people in general. I don't have really anything to gain from these people. They're all real estate agents. Right. But I love them and I want to know them, and and a lot of them call me for advice. And it used to drive me crazy because I didn't want to stop what I was doing to have to answer 900 questions. But it's such a positive thing for them to ask me because it makes me feel like they do trust me and they do believe that I know what I'm doing and they want advice. So, but having said that, it would always blow my mind that they were in this business, but they wouldn't push themselves to want to know or meet other people and put themselves out there.
If you're in a room and you're in Gulf Shores and there's a Birmingham agent that is doing well, go meet them. Why not? And let them know.
I've asked you several things over the years, business-wise, for advice, things that, I was never doing that you did that you were successful at. And look, we're not all going to be successful in the different things we do. You find your niche and you roll with it or whatever. Right. But, anytime I came to you, you always gave great advice.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, I don't know if I've ever given you any great advice.
Well, I don't think that's true. Well, that's why I wanted to have you here is I know you have so much to share. So that's why I invited you for sure. You have given me great advice. All right, what are your strengths and weaknesses in the business?
Me personally, I think that my strengths are definitely my book of business and my wide range of connections that I have. I mean,
example.
I'll give you 1,000 of them, but I lay down in bed at night, and I think to myself situations that have happened, and it still blows my mind that I'm involved with certain situations. I've been at people's weddings that I sold houses to and that I never knew before that I made great friends with. I've been in situations where I had a guy at one point gave me a $5,000 check one day. He's like, "Man, you saved me this much money and I want to give this to you." And I didn't take it. I got paid a commission on the deal. Right. I was extremely thankful for it, tore the check up. the different ways that people have treated me makes you know that you did the right thing. They send you business. That makes you feel like you've done the right thing when they 100%. Tell their friends and family about you. But strengths for sure are going to be the networking that I've done. Weakness, again, figuring out how to say no sometimes and turning the business off can be very difficult and challenging for me.
All that experience that you've got with all those people, like that is so valuable. So how do you convey that to someone? Are you ever in competition anymore for listings and stuff, or is it all...
For the most part, if someone calls me, it's for a second opinion. And at that point, 99 times out of 10, I'll probably win it at that point. And that's because 2 reasons, and you'll agree with me on one. We work for a company that doesn't tell us what we have to do. If we got to get creative in getting this listing, we can get creative. And we can flat out beat just about anybody. I know that upsets other companies that might not be able to negotiate certain things that we do. But it's very difficult to beat a seasoned REMAX agent.
Right. Yeah.
Shout out to REMAX. It is what it is, number one.
I mean, I've been here 8 years and haven't left. So.
It really, but so number 2, for the most part, if I'm the first agent they call, I normally get the deal. I don't not very often have they gone and gotten a second opinion after me.
It's because of the referral thing.
Probably because of referral. At that point, when their friend or family has told them such good things about you, the trust is already there.
The great thing about a referral.
That's what's great about the referral.
But if I'm just thinking about that's because that is our value, all of our experience, most of our value. Like, how do you convey that? Because sometimes we struggle with that. We know we have all this value, and when we're talking to Patrick about how we're going to market and show that, I mean, somebody can tell you're valuable when they talk to you and they get your experience. But like, any advice there?
That's the tough part. Is one, trying to look humble while you're wanting to convey that, and it's very difficult because you don't want to go around and say, "Well, I'm Dusty Cole. I sold 130 houses last year." No, you don't. But, you do have to stay relevant on social media. People see what you're doing. They see that you're busy. I'm hesitant sometimes to post things because people in our business we compete, and there's some envy, there's some jealousy, and I don't want to make people feel that way about me. So sometimes I've let that affect me. And that's another thing too. That's my problem. I need to say
what people think.
What people
think. We all have that at a certain level.
That's a big deal to me. Like, I want people to think highly of me, and I don't want them to think that I'm a showboater, and I don't want to post all this crazy stuff. But at the same time, you do have to stay relevant. But there's a humble way to do it. You've done a fantastic job at that. So if I get to the point where I do video and all that, I'm copying Dusty Cole's approach.
A lot of that's Heather and Patrick for sure.
Well, and you set yourself up in managing this whole thing to where you got great people in place. So
I mean, because I think, and it's really kind of taboo, like, in a way, you don't want to say that because it comes across the wrong way. But the number of homes you sell does matter.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that
experience,
Yeah. And it's like, one, you're able to, that many people want to do business with you.
Yeah.
2, you get all that experience. 3, it shows that you work hard.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you convince 100 people in a year to do business with you? Like,
so that's the tough part too. Telling the truth is never going to be a bad thing. Ever, ever, ever. And there's situations that come up where listing presentation and seller says, "I know my home's worth $500,000. And I'm so confident that it's not worth $500,000. I'm not going to tell this seller what he wants to hear. I just can't do it. Now, I'll say it in an approach of, unfortunately, the comps say your home's worth $450,000. I know you don't have to sell. I know you're in no hurry to sell, and I know your situation. I appreciate the referrals you've sent me over the years. I'm willing to try this number, but we've got to both know this home may only appraise for $450,000. We may never sell it at $500,000. I don't want to do that, but I also don't want to burn a relationship. As long as I communicate and I'm honest with them from the start of that exact situation, they're never going to be upset with you. They're not going to say, "Sam never sold my home. He didn't bring a buyer to my listing." He can't say that because I was up front. Your home's not worth what we're fixing to ask here. If you truly want to sell it, we're going to have to get, very aggressive and drop the price to that number.
I love that. Telling the truth is never a bad thing.
Never.
It's almost like telling the truth. I say sometimes, of course, copied it from somewhere, but telling the truth is also not necessarily criticism.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to tell the truth to people here, and it's, it may seem like criticism.
Yep.
But it's really, just us telling you.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. I had You got 1,000 just great real estate stories.
Well, when we talk about this stuff, you know, I mean, we're just going to change this to a real estate podcast. It's a lot more fun.
I had this guy fresh out of prison, got a job. Yeah, I don't know what he was there for, never asked. And he was extremely nice. I have no idea. But I got him pre-approved, wanted to buy a home. Matter of fact, he was actually referred to me by a lender. And I showed him and his fiance houses in Daphne. And she was giving a lot of advice to him, the buyer, because it was basically going his name. And a lot of it was not accurate advice. And I listened to it for a little bit, but at some point I had to step up and at least make a comment on a couple of things that wasn't right.
Yeah.
And I did it in what I felt was a very ethical and professional way. And I didn't make her feel like I was belittling her, and I didn't make her feel like that what she said didn't matter.
Right.
I got home that evening and I got a phone call from him that said, unfortunately, this isn't going to work out. I think we're going to have to find another agent. And man, I didn't take it well at all. I'd never been fired. That may be the only time I've ever been fired.
Yeah.
But I was upset about it. But I thought to myself, you know, you told the truth. What more can you do?
Yeah. I mean,
2 days later, guy calls me back. They went and met with another agent. The agent didn't tell him the truth on different things. Hey, Sam, we'd like to hire you back if you take us.
Love that.
Unfortunately, I had too much going on. No, I didn't. I took him back. I did. I took him back. But,
that's awesome.
But I mean, you know, and it ended up coming back. Good karma. They came back.
You handled it well.
And
you
I
didn't
handled
pitch
it the right way. I didn't talk down to her, and I did it in a way where, hey, wait a minute, this is how it actually is.
It's kind of like when you lose a listing. You know, of course, there's been many, because I am in competition still a good bit from the way we do business. But if you don't win, you know, you don't want to pitch a fit because it may not sell. And that's happened to us, actually,
all of us,
a lot.
Yeah.
Where they circle back to you.
So we're back in that market where the first agent may not always sell it. We're back in that market where it may be the second or third agent that sells it.
And I've had them go list and sell a home successfully and go and come back on the next transaction. You know, when they buy or sell. Yeah. You know, so you've been through a lot of markets.
Yeah.
I've been through good amount. But you know, what's your overall feeling with the higher interest rates, election year? You've been through some election years. What's your outlook?
I think it's positive. I mean, I don't see real estate getting any cheaper. And I'm hesitant to always have these certain conversations because every buyer wants to have a conversation to where they think that rates are going to drop and that prices are going to change. And if anything, prices are going to go up. A lot of people think prices are going to go down. I don't think that's going to happen.
Seems like they would have by now.
Yeah, we would have already seen it.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking as time flies, we're already 2 years into a higher rate environment.
Yeah.
You know, it was mid 2022.
Yeah.
You know,
I tell you what I do see. I see people have had a lot of cash over the last couple of years. Business has been good. They've been buying houses. Rates were good until they weren't. But I see what feels like cash is starting to be slim. I'm seeing more boats for sale. More cars for sale now. Some of these car lots had empty car lots, and I'm seeing more vehicle inventories going up. So I feel like people are spending less money. You know, we haven't seen a lot of foreclosures in the last couple of years.
No.
I expect in the next few years we could see that again if people don't have the cash, and some of these people that have bought with these rates a little bit higher than they were over the last few years.
A little bit more.
A little bit more.
I think
we may see we may see a little bit more foreclosures in a few years.
What is you know, in Mobile, what are you seeing? Are you seeing what's days on market you're seeing?
Definitely going up. I mean, it's definitely a little stale. For the most part, that average price range, which is a home in the high 100s to high 200s, probably even, they're selling fairly easy if they're priced right. But when you start getting over $300,000, the days on market, in my opinion, are definitely going up.
So you're an investor. You're a real estate investor, right?
Yep.
Long-term, short-term, commercial?
A little both. I started off, I was going to buy a couple rental houses. I bought each of my kid one, and it was going to send them to private school. They were 2 and 3 years old. So I didn't need private school tuition at the time. So a couple more came available, and it just kind of snowballed. And I bought my 21st rental house a couple months ago.
Nice. Do you manage them yourself?
Manage them myself.
Yeah.
Best decision I've probably ever made. Dusty. Everybody wanted to buy rental houses. All I did was talk rental business to people. No one ever very rarely was doing it. Everyone wanted it. It sounded so good. Great idea. No one was doing it.
But you took the risk.
My brother's a CPA, and he's like, you're a sissy. Do it. He's like, what are you doing? Do it. And I was scared to death.
He was so right.
And he was right, but I was scared to death, and I did it. I paid $81,000. It was a weird number because I took my commission off of it, but it was like $81,000 and some change. That home appraised for close to $200,000 the other day. I bought it 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. It rents now for $1,550 a month. Mm-hmm. It's paid for itself at this point. So, yeah,
taking that leap and just doing it, and it's people don't want to do it now because they think the prices are too high and things. But when I bought my first rental property, I was scared as well, and I went to this mentor that I had, and he told me not to do it.
Really?
Yeah, it just wasn't his thing, So looking back, he didn't know anything about it.
I get it.
So it's like also the lesson was talk to the right mentor about the right thing, because I almost didn't do it.
Yeah.
He was like, maybe you should do something
Yeah.
And I'm like, didn't listen. So do you work with investors too?
I really don't. I never have.
Okay.
Luckily. And I always say luckily because investors can be tough to deal with. If you're not the first one to that investment, then someone else is going to scoop it up. So investors want you to be working for them directly every single step. And it's difficult. I wasn't going to put my other buyers and sellers aside to work for investors. So no, and for the most part, no. I got a couple guys that flip houses. They buy their own stuff.
Right.
And I just list for them and that's it. But overall, I really don't work with
Different
investors.
At the beach. You definitely want them at the beach.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Different approach for sure.
Yeah. Different buyer. You work Mobile and a little bit of Baldwin.
Yep.
I don't work Mobile, but I do go to Florida a little bit.
Yep.
What's your take on like knowing how far to go?
The seller and the buyer are not going to know. Like, it's really up to the agent. I mean, if they go study the agent really needs to be honest with their client to say, hey, I don't sell a lot at the beach. I'll come down there for you. I'll give you the best I can. But honestly, I'm a firm believer that if you're going to, be a real estate agent, you got to work the areas you know. I don't know the beach.
Right.
Could I know it? Yeah. Could you know Mobile? 100%.
Right.
But I couldn't take care of my clients in Mobile like I need to if I'm spending all this time going back and forth to the beach trying to help this one single client buy a condo. I've sold condos down there once or twice over the years. I've always told them I don't work the beach. They're like, hey,
they just wanted you.
They wanted me, and I don't, and that's fine. I communicate. I was honest with them, whatever. But for the most part, if I get a client at the beach, they're coming to probably Dusty Cole.
Well,
yeah,
I agree with that. I think it is the two things: your expertise. Like, I don't go deep into Pensacola. I don't know the schools over there.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you who the principals were. That the
best neighborhoods, where all the restaurants shopping. I can't tell.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you where to go to Walmart.
Yeah.
But with the Perdido Key is basically an extension of Orange Beach.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing. I'm comfortable doing that. But that's the time we get. Sometimes new agents, because they need sales, they're willing to travel. But get that mindset of.
I had one come from Huntsville.
Yeah,
Huntsville the other day, and I told her, I was like, "Look, I'll pay you a great referral. Like, I'll take care of this person.
Right?
What? Why?
Right?
You come down here 3 or 4 times. It's just not worth it.
No, and a referral rolls straight to your bottom line with no expenses.
Nothing.
And then you can focus on
the client that's there in front of you that you can deal with and meet face to face every day in your hometown.
We need to run an ad about that. We can't stand when. Let me see. It's frustrating when people come down from Birmingham and they're not a member of MLS. They don't know anything about our market and try to represent buyers. They don't know our contracts.
Yep.
It's a disservice. Now I understand sometimes a family member or they're representing themselves.
That's different.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
But we see that a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if this plays out in your business or not, but when it comes, and you're not seeing it quite as much, but multiple offer situations. When there's multiple agents bring you offers and you've got one from a seasoned agent that you've worked with multiple times over the years, and you got a newer agent that either you've never worked with or you've worked with and it was not a good experience. You got to communicate with your seller to say, hey, this is our 3 offers. This is what your bottom line is from each one. This offer might not be the best, but I've never worked a deal with Dusty Cole where it didn't close, where it didn't communicate.
Right.
Pre-approval letters in place. The lender's already got a great relationship with. I know that we work well together. If an opportunity comes up where we have to get creative to make it work, Dusty and I work well together. So many times a situation like that, when it goes back to networking, knowing other agents. Maybe you don't always get business from other agents, but in a situation like that, knowing other agents and knowing what they're capable of and that they can close a deal, that's a big service too.
100%. I think, and you got to tell your client that too. You know, I think with all things being equal, obviously, if you have better terms or something.
Yeah. But if it's close, that's a game changer. And
I think it works the same way whenever you're the listing agent, making sure you have good cooperative relationships so they bring buyers to your listing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want people driving by and saying, "It's that damn Sam Calderone. I don't want to show that house."
Yeah. I don't want to work with him. Yeah.
It definitely matters for sure.
How many agents you have in your Baldwin County market right now? Do you know?
Yeah, it's about 2,500, 2,600. I think there's there's more than 3,000 members.
Yeah.
But those are like some vendors, I believe.
Yeah.
So about 2,600. What do you got in Mobile?
Not a clue. I would say at least that. And I'm seeing a lot of them starting to drop off.
Do you know how many transactions are over there, like a month or a year, anything?
No. But I could have researched all this.
Yeah.
When I tell you that I stay in my own lane, like so many times other agents are like, "Man, I saw what you did. I looked at the stats." I'm like, "What have I done?
What did I do?"
Like, I am so focused. Compete with yourself. Don't compete with another agent. Like, that's difficult to compete with one single agent, 10 agents, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. Compete with yourself to be better every single day, to learn the business, to figure out a different avenue to win. And you're not going to win them all. No matter what you think is going to happen, you're not always going to win them. And at the end of the day, you do your best and you do it the right way, and it
learn from it. So you're saying search inward? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like don't search outward and want to put blame on other situations or whatever. Right. There's always something we can do different to whatever, but compete with yourself regardless. Like
100%.
Compete with yourself.
You can always continue to learn. I mean, I had just a simple first-time home buyer recently. We are not seeing a lot of multiple offers over here, but it was like $180,000, which is entry level over here.
Yeah.
And 5 offers, and we didn't win.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm, you know, what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
Should I have rewrote the offer? Should I have, should I have gone back and asked, more than once? Are you sure you don't want to go? Whatever you could have done.
Yeah.
But they were okay.
That is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I hate that. And that's part of being a people person too, is you get beat up. In that same transaction, I had a very good friend that didn't win the deal. Mm-hmm. And there's a winner and there's a loser. There's a winning agent, there's a losing agent, there's a winning buyer, and there's a losing buyer. Like it's unfortunate.
Are y'all seeing a lot of that over there still?
On a couple.
Yeah.
This was a commodity. This was something on a couple acres that was just
low.
Don't see a lot of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you're good at something, baseball, you're generally good at baseball. You're going to go out and want to do something with baseball every day. You're going to throw a baseball. You want to buy a glove. You're looking at, every bat that's for sale that they make these days.
Right.
If you're going to be good at real estate, you're probably talking about real estate in general with someone or about some sort of real estate on a daily basis. It's not, I just go to work and sell real estate, and then when I get off at 5, I go home and I watch football. It's generally not that way. If you're a good real estate agent that's a high-producing agent, the real estate conversation never is turned off. You're always talking about real estate.
It's kind of a way of life, and I kind of was able to take that from a previous career where operating hours were 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. sometimes, and you just had to. It was just a way of life.
Yeah,
you're always being an entrepreneur, but 100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And it's exciting too because it's not like. My dad was a general manager at a car dealership, and I always thought, you got inventory at your dealership. You had to sell what was right there on that car lot. And sometimes car guy might get a bad rap because he sells a lemon or whatever it may be. But in real estate, when you're working with a buyer, you can sell them anything. So when you find out what they want, you're not pushing them on one thing. You're showing them a range of properties. And of course, they're telling you what they want, what they're looking for, and you're trying your best to hone that down to a few houses for them to ultimately make a decision. But for the most part, you can sell them anything you want. So being honest about every single thing about it just makes it easy, I
try to give them the pros and the cons of everything.
Let them decide,
Yeah, 100%. Like, you don't make them buy. You just want to be the person they buy with when they buy.
That's right.
I see a lot of marketing where people are trying to convince people to buy.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's the right strategy.
No.
Like, it's not our job to convince people to buy or sell.
Yeah.
We're just want to be the one they choose when they do.
That's exactly
How do you do that?
Well,
you
it's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Again, it leads back to that.
Yeah.
Some people's situation when they call you, they don't need to buy. And it's okay to tell them, hey, Dusty, I know you're moving here, but it sounds like you may only be here for a short period of time. Or would you be interested in leasing that home, if you have to relocate? Oh, no, I don't ever want to rent a home. Well, Dusty, I'm not sure if I'd buy in this market right now. I don't know that that's a great, rates are high and price, it's going to be hard to get out of in a year from now.
Right.
Oh, you can commit 5 years? That's a different story. Yeah, I think buy and save. Let's do it.
Prices are a little flat, right? I mean, it's the days of buying and selling a year later and making money.
Yeah, it's just about gone for now. Yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
It'll always change again.
And I see a lot of people push, buy my new listing, would be a great rental house.
Yeah.
And then that house, would rent for $1,000, $1,200, but they're asking $325. There is no return. And I'm like, be careful how you market that, because that's not really a good rental house.
Sam, so generally speaking, what is our main job, right? I mean, we're salespeople, but what do we do? Like, what's our...
Well, obviously we work with buyers and sellers, and we sell real estate. And I said this earlier, in doing so, we do it ethically, professionally, and honesty obviously drives all of that. You lead from a way of being as honest as you can, and you do business in a certain way where, obviously you're the professional and you do it in a professional approach. I think that we live in a world today where inventory being a little bit lower, everyone competing for the same buyers and the same sellers, it gets to a point where there's a lot of vicious sales that go on, people wanting to win a deal, and it gets a little bit difficult. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that we are realtors and that we do things the right way.
Code of ethics,
and the code of ethics makes us, not only makes us, it should drive us internally to want to do it the right way too.
I mean, some of the things he just knows right and wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you ever had a transaction, out of your control, I mean, I know the answer to this, but they went poorly. Yeah. And you had to learn a big lesson.
No, I can't think of anything that went, nothing ever, I've never had a deal just blow up and go wrong. I guess I could have gone on this when you said pros and cons. I'm so good at, and I just sounded like very cocky right there. I've been very good over the years at figuring out how to be creative.
Yep.
There's not one way to look at how to make a deal work. There's multiple ways to get a deal to the closing table. Yep. As long as you know, if you're working for the seller, then you need to know what their end game is. But as long as you know what their game plan is, and obviously you're giving them advice as you can, and that game plan doesn't always go as it's supposed to go. You got outside factors, you got market conditions, you got change of circumstance for a buyer or seller. There's a lot of different things that can change. You're dealing with a lot of different personalities, from the buyer to the seller to the inspector to the appraiser to the underwriter to everybody. Insurance is a big deal these days. Termite bonds are a big deal. There's a lot of different
can go wrong.
things that could go wrong. Luckily for me, I can't think of any major blow up, but I've had little situations with those different parts that were moving to where we're like, hey, no big deal. I've done this before. We're going to go around that. I can fix it this way. Yeah. You communicate that, and it is devastating a lot of times to the people because they don't want a bump in the road. They don't want a hiccup. They've already got 1,000 other things lined up based on this deal closing. So you're managing their emotions. Hey, Mr. Seller, no problem. I've dealt with this before. Don't you worry about it. I know the company that will put a bond on this thing. I'll personally call them.
I think instances like that for new agents, that is when I think it's great to be on a team where you're able to lean on some other people that have had those experiences. Another thing I see agents do sometimes is when something goes wrong, they get so emotionally upset themselves that they can't serve the client well. Yep. You got to just chill out. Man.
Calm down, communicate with the other agent.
It's almost like you're the pilot, man. Yeah. If you freak out, you're going to crash.
Yeah. I've had so many times in a situation like that, the other agent that doesn't know what to do, and they get offended and they channel that frustration to me or a situation. I'm like, hey, calm down. These are things that happen. The longer you're in this business, because I know you want to be around, you're going to deal with this again, and you need to figure out, and I'll help you. Like, let's talk through this. Yeah. And so many times I'll talk to them like that. I want them to know, hey, I want you to win as much as I want to win. Let me help you. Mm-hmm. And so many times in situations like that, I've shown them something that they had no clue about, that their broker owner had no clue about, that it made the deal work.
And helped them. They learned something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, and if we're on soapboxes now, I guess. Also, you never want to belittle the other side.
No.
I see that sometimes with some old timers and new agents. They try to, now some of it's a negotiating thing, and your client's the most important thing.
That's right.
If you're trying to negotiate for your client, that's maybe a little different, but
sure.
You don't have to, you can do it in a way that's respectful to a new person that's learning.
Yeah. And I will say, a challenge for me in the last couple of years with all the new agents is my patience.
Yeah.
When you know how a certain situation should go, and now you got a newer agent that has no knowledge or leadership or training to kind of help them, and they're fixing to be a roadblock in your way, and you know that they're fixing to cause some major issues.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Protecting your client's the first thing, and just some common sense. Like, we'll have to decide if we keep this in or not. But I mean, if you request a showing at 8 p.m. on an occupied listing, we're probably not going to have it approved by 6 a.m. the next day.
Yep.
So, that's just common sense.
We live in a world where influencers are a big thing on TikTok, whatever. And hey, man, it gets me. Anytime I see a new product and this influencer's pushing it, I'm like, wait a minute, I like that, But we almost starting to see it a little bit in the real estate world, where some of these newer agents, they're not interested at all at knowing the ins and out of real estate, sales, law, tactic. They want cool pictures and video of themselves in front of a property, and they think that's all it's going to take to sell or market a home. And it ain't that easy.
So that brings to another point, not to switch gears too much, but man, you can make yourself look busy on social media. And I know what they're trying. I mean, that's
part of their game plan, and I get it.
Part of the game plan, but some of it's just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
But like you say, when they go this way, you go that way, and you have to put out something of value, and you'll stand out over the stuff like that.
Yeah, you're not going to include this, but where it becomes a problem is when that agent's hired, and the client quickly realizes, oh my God, what have I done?
Right.
And then they call, hey Sam, I know you sold us this place 3 years ago, and I'm sorry. How do I get out of this contract?
I clicked on that Instagram.
And you're like, well, can't, you're in this listing contract, and there's nothing I can do about it at the moment, but I'm here to help.
But you make a great point about learning what the job actually is. I mean, I love good marketing. I mean, I see some of these agents, and their marketing's good. You talk about all this. I mean, even if I'm talking to other industries, the whole idea is that they look at us as competent.
100%. Yeah. So they see that. Oh, he's
smart. And
100%. Yeah. And so many things that we talk about.
Yeah.
The buyer and seller, it never crosses their mind.
It's behind the scenes.
That's right. But that never crosses their mind of, wow, my agent does need to know a little bit about that and that and that. I never thought to even think, should my agent know 100%. How to maneuver through that situation?
Yeah, 100%.
And unfortunately, because I've never been questioned on what I do, but our buyers and sellers don't always know what we do behind the scenes.
I know. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, how do you get, that's the struggle we have, is how do you convey all that value?
It's sometimes tough in a humble way, to where you don't sound like you're just, putting yourself on a pedestal. And I think that showing yourself that you're busy, there's different ways, but it can be very difficult. For the most part, people pay attention to what you're doing.
In results.
The closing, not the look. Look at me now. It's look what I did, like what I've done. What's
for my client.
That's right.
If you want to get wealthy in real estate, you get wealthy in real estate through real estate investing. So using your real estate sales commissions to become a real estate investor is the way to become wealthy.
Well, and another thing too is, any good business obviously is going to have reserves for good times, bad times, or whatever. I don't know the stats, but retail, they make the majority of their money during the holiday. So they have to have a certain amount of money to float through the average or lower times.
Right.
Real estate's no different. I mean, if you're going to be a good agent, we don't pay taxes necessarily. I pay quarterly or whatever, but a lot of times they don't know what they're going to pay in taxes until they file their taxes. But
right.
You've got to have a nest egg. Starting off, you've got to have if you want to be in it, because it's going to be a little slow, you have to have a nest egg. But to be in it long term, you do have to set yourself financially up to get through the slow times so that you're here, even during the bad market.
So you've done that a bunch. So you've been in the business 20 years. I've been in the business 8.5, 9 years. What do you think the number one reason why you've had sustainability?
I never lived beyond my means. Never, ever lived beyond my means. I think that I made smart decisions financially for the most part, for sure, on the real estate that I bought, but I never went out and bought the fanciest of vehicles. I never lived beyond my means on homes and stuff like that. I didn't even really go on many vacations in the early years.
Right.
I love to hunt and fish, and I spend money on that now, but in the early years, not until I really could afford it, I didn't do all that.
That's good advice.
We use the word farming in real estate
a
lot of times. And my family owns a farm, and I'm extremely proud of this farm. They're a huge farm. I don't even know how big they are now, but they're 3,000+ acres.
Farm?
It's an active farm. And my family, and we're like brothers, Walt, Dave, and Will. Me and my brothers, 5 of us, and we're all staggered, so we're just about a year apart from each other. When you start talking about a foundation of people that you surround yourself with, and even though we're not in the same business, our business approach is similar. They till the ground, they plant the seed, they water the seed, and then the fruits of their labor is paid off when they harvest. Same thing in real estate.
Yep.
We network, we plant the seed of who we are, we water the seed, we follow up. We call on and we send them, maybe it's, once a year, touch them 3 or 4 times a year through calendars or handwritten letters, whatever it may be. But at some point, they've seen enough of you that they like, and they've heard enough great things about you that when it's time, they're going to hire you. And the fruits of all your labor, of being a good agent, of staying in contact with these people and farming those certain areas or situations or relationships will pay off. And that's your best investment. Over the years, some of my best referral sources never bought and sold a home from me. Never.
Yep.
They just sent me business.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for coming to join me.
Yep.